Denizens of the grid, welcome back to something completely different. It's another round of Deckers, except today, instead of doing a round of Deckers, I got it in my head to maybe try and explain a little bit of why I find this game so exciting, or better yet, to just go through how the game is, how it's played, not necessarily as a comprehensive analysis of all of the rules in the rule book, which honestly is not that long or that hard to really grok if you want to push through it, but rather to give kind of a bird's eye view. uh, at this point, I think I've played this game with at least 14 other people, 12 other people in just a span of a few weeks, which shows you just how intensely I enjoy it. So I've had a fair amount of practice teaching the game, and I figured, you know what? Let me try my hand. My target is to have all the basic systems of the game explained within 20 minutes, so that if you watch this video, you can walk out and be ready to play your game while making only occasional references to the sequence of play card and the commands and actions card so that you can actually figure out details. What is Deckers? In Deckers, we play as hackers, aka Deckers, that are breaking into an established network. That's this entire thing of servers, green, red, pink, blue, yellow servers. Uh, we have to break in and do stuff while under the watchful eye of the supermassive computer, or SMC. The game ships with numerous SMCs of varying styles, difficulty, and temperament. What they all have in common is that when you first walk into the game or the server or jack into this virtualized network, they aren't really doing much. They're not on guard. But then throughout the game, they will keep spawning ray tokens called sparks, intrusion countermeasures, pick your preferred cyberpunk reference. And the more sparks there are, the more likely they are to interfere with our efforts in different ways, possibly combine to make them more stubbornly difficult to remove, combine into larger defenses, and God help us eventually kick us out. If at any point in the game all 25 of the gray the sparks are gone and we have to place one, or the 5 large squares, boom, game over. So keeping the spark count down, important. In order to do what we need to do as deckers within these networks, we utilize the 4 major colors: green, blue, yellow, and red. And everything in this game revolves around those colors. We have programs in green, blue, yellow, and red. Our deck of cards are red, yellow, blue, green symbols. Our characters are those symbols and colors. For the time being, I'm just going to pull out the very first AI, the one you're probably going to play for your starter game, and keep it over here on the side. We'll explain more about that when I am ready to get to that part of the explanation. Now, I keep saying what we need to do in the network, our goals in the network, our hacking targets. The second step of setting up this game and being ready to play it is to decide what it is we're trying to accomplish as hackers. There are copper objectives, silver objectives, gold objectives. At least early on in your playing against simpler AIs, you will need to beat one of each, or rather, you will face one of each. So I randomly select from amongst these. And rather than my goal, like it might be in Pandemic, being turn in X many cures, or in Spirit Island, cause enough fear to scare away enough people, in this game, the goal changes depending on which cards you've drawn, and at times quite drastically. The different goals you've drawn can completely change how you approach the game or what you do. So, what does it mean how I approach the game and what I do? I think the what I've decided and what I've found the best way to explain this game is to start by showing you the cards, then go on to explain why I would make these programs, what each color is for, and how each color operates. Then go on to how these cards become improved by the upgrade deck. And only after I've done all that, go back to, okay, now let's look at those goals again. So I like to think of red as the color of offense, direct offense. Yellow, or infection, I guess the game calls it. Yellow is the color of manipulation and color conversion, so medium offense. Blue is the color of mobility, and green's just all over the place, man. Green is telepathy or something. We'll get to green last, which is ironic because the decker whose cards I took out was the green starter deck. If you've ever played a deck builder, you know all about this idea of starting with basic cards and eventually buying better cards to do more with. But no matter what cards you're dealing with in this game, whether they're the advanced deck cards here with bonus abilities or the basic cards, all cards generate commands, aka symbols, in red, yellow, blue, and green. The starter deck has a single, double, and 1+ wild of each color. So red, yellow, blue, and green. And the last 3 cards to go up to 15 are one more set of those same colors in whatever color decker you happen to be playing. All right. So what do we do with these commands? What do we do with these colors? On a given turn, you have a hand of 5 cards. I have 4. Hand of 5 cards. You can take any of these actions with those 5 cards, and that's kind of how we're going to get about. There is no basic free action in this game. Every action you take requires you to generate commands so that you can take it, which essentially means that if I was to use these 3 to make one action, these 3 to make another action, these 2 to make one, I'm taking 3 different actions on my turn, but I'm playing out my hand. So that's kind of the flow of the game. The arc number of this game is 3. It takes 3 red symbols to craft, make, or in this game's terminology, upload a red program on my square. So if I'm the green decker, on this square. It similarly takes 3 yellow symbols to make, upload, craft a, I should take it from the box so it doesn't look like a yellow program to my space. Why would I want these programs and what are they for? Let's go color by color. First, red. Red, as I've implied or said before, is the color of direct damage or offense. If there is a spark and I bring with me a red program to that spark, I can try to attack or infect it with a red command. The minimum red commands I need to initiate an attack are at least 1. So let's say that's what I do. I'm going to play this card to attempt to infect that ice or that spark. We roll both these dice. I add it all up. 3 is my red roll, plus 1 is my number of reds, plus 1 command is my number of attack. That's 5, versus 3 plus 1 is 4. Looks like a success for red. So at this point, that spark is killed and removed from the network. If there were multiple sparks, then we would, of course, add this total to this total versus this total. And in this situation, 3, 4 plus 1 is 5 versus 1, 2, 3. We win. All sparks are removed. But if it goes the other direction and they win, 6 versus 3, 1, 2, 1 is 5, we only lose 1 red program, which in this situation is all of them. But if there had been multiples, we would lose multiples. So that's the basics of how we go ahead with our direct offense on red. You'll notice that it is clearly easier to win if you have multiple red programs with you. But remember how I said the arc number is 3? You cannot have more than 3 of a given program color on a given space. 3 reds, 3 greens, 3 yellows, 3 blues all in one space. Hey, knock yourself out. But 4 reds, one of them is immediately removed and put back in the box. So much for reds. Next, we'll talk installations. If you have 3 of a color on a square, and you put on a space, and you add 1 more command, play command, you can change those 3 into a colored square called an installation in that color. Installations offer all kinds of benefits that are thematically appropriate to the colors that spawn them. Specifically, for the sake of for talking about red, it gives us a couple tricks. First, instead of having to spend 3 red commands to make or upload one program, every red command counts as a program. So, for example, I could play this card, generate 2 red, boom, boom, create 2 reds in my space. Nice and simple. But remember the limit of 3. So, if I decided I wanted to spend all of these symbols, I would still essentially cap at 3 for my creation. Second advantage, this is considered a +4 to offense. So if by some means a spark gets here, well, I don't even have to roll it, do I? Because +1 command to attack or 2 commands to attack, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 versus 3. Ah, don't make me laugh. Finally, adjacent squares to this hub get a +1 on attack. So that we are currently looking at 1 for the adjacency bonus, 2, 3 for the reds, plus whatever commands I throw down, plus the die. It's a decently strong attack. So much for red, the color of direct offense. You'll notice that I used this area and this decker for all of it. Every decker can utilize every color, and every program once uploaded belongs to the board, so every decker can utilize every program. It's not like we have programs that belong to each individual player or character. So, if that's direct offense, what does indirect offense or modification or conversion or transformation or whatever you want to call it look like? The official term, of course, being modification. Well, how do I craft a yellow program? Same way you craft any program, same way you upload any program. 1, 2, 3 of that symbol, or if you overpay, that's fine as long as you get to that 3. Boom, upload in your space. Now, let's imagine that the board looks something like this. We've got our yellow program with us. There's a spark over there. We find our ability to move. We're getting to blue later, so I'll tell you how that works. We carry our yellow over here. Unfortunately for us, 1 yellow versus 1 spark cannot do anything. You don't work on even numbers. Yellow requires numerical superiority. Now there are more yellows than sparks on that square. So we can take what is called a modification action. First, you need a yellow symbol to turn on the modifier. Then you need any other symbol. So it looks like I got a blue here. When you do this, you take the yellow and the spark, and you in their stead put the color that you've converted to, in this case, blue. Similarly, take a look at this card. It's yellow plus a wild card, right? So very, very convenient. You remove the yellow, remove the spark. You've used the yellow to initiate this transformation, so you can pick any color you like. You could even pick another yellow to keep your yellow count up. All right. Blah, blah, blah. Why do we like yellow? We like yellow because, unlike with red, in fact, you always win. There is no luck of the roll. There is no, that should be fine 8 out of 10 times scenarios. We dislike yellow because red can initiate an attack with a single command. Yellow will always need 2 for a conversion. Red can go from numerical equality or even from behind. Yellow needs to have numerical superiority. Finally, yellow can only convert 1 spark at a time. Red, if it wins, wipes out all sparks simultaneously. So, pick your battles, decide what matters, and most importantly, play the game based on the goals you have and the outs you have. We've always talked about the arc number being 3, so if you get to 3 yellows, that's the limit you have, but you play another yellow command to make an installation. Installation. Yellow installations operate a lot like red ones. 1 command equals 1 uploaded program. So in this case, we can make 2 yellow programs for 2 very easily. They do also offer a benefit for conversion, not adjacently, but within their server. You no longer need numerical superiority. You can simply have numerical parity and be sufficient. So, boom, I declare yellow and green, take away the yellow, take away the sparks, stick a green. Great way to get my program count up. This should have cost 3 green commands to upload. I did it in 1 green command and 1 yellow command. This should have taken a yellow command or a red command to kill. Did it in 1 yellow command with no roll. So, you know, higher infrastructure demands, but different effects. So if these are the two colors that I consider primarily offense-based, blue is the color and green is the color that I consider more utility and positioning. And honestly, a game cannot be won without them. And dig my cards. I'm going to go over movement next. Blue is a very relevant color. You start the game with a little bit of blue in place, actually. So let's suppose that my decker is up here and there's a smattering of reds that I want to move around. Maybe they've been crafted on here, and let's put some sparks here. How does a decker move from here to here? Well, 1 movement energy gets you 1 space of movement. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4. Or, path better, 1, 2, 3. How am I getting movement energy? All in the cards, baby. 1 blue energy, 1 movement energy. So let's say I wanted to make this movement. I would say I'm going to move 3, 1, 2, 3. But is there a better way? Well, technically not on this board, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Notice how there are these blue chits sitting on the ground. These blue programs. How have they been made? Same way we make any program. 3 blues, upload, boop. That's how you make a blue program. But what do? When you move from a space to another space in the grid, it costs you movement energy. We've established this. When you move from a space to one that has a blue program, it takes energy. Blue to off blue takes energy. But if you move from a space with the blue to a space with the blue, this pathway takes 0 energy to walk over. So from our initial setup, if we had gone 1, 2, free movement, now we're getting somewhere. Deckers can also carry one kind of program when they are moving. So if I went 1, pick up, 2, 3, still holding these reds, move over, move over, move over, move over. Looks like I'm ready for a fight. I could additionally have said 1, 2, 3, free movement this way, set that down, come back up, free movement this way, free movement this way, set that down, blue. So that's the utility of the blue. If you have an expansive pathway set up, you can do really cool shenanigans. Because think about it, it's free movement and it's free repositioning of programs. So you can really rejigger where everything is all at once. If you are so inclined, you can say, well, I'm going to go this way for free, take this green, move it down to here so it's ready to push these, go back up here, go back up here, get these yellows here and here, then bring them all the way around here. Notice how I'm only carrying 1 color at a time. Now that I'm planning on doing conversion shenanigans here, we'll take this red, and actually we can't do conversions because they're even, we need to be ahead. We'll move the yellows back up to here, where they're in this yellow server, come back over to here, take this red, bring it all the way down here. I'm exaggerating, you wouldn't probably be this silly about it, but I'm sure you get the point. Very powerful to be on a pathway. But leaving the pathway takes 1, coming back on the pathway takes 1, so watch your energy. Artboards, what happens if we take 3 blue programs and convert them up? 1 blue command, you have made a teleporter. Teleporters, I like to think of as being connected to everywhere in the network. So you can move from a teleporter, 1 movement energy, to here, or here, or here, or here. If you're so inclined, you can teleport from here to here. And since you've moved from blue to blue, that costs you 0 energy. And then that's another 0 energy, another, and another. And then you might want to start doing something like pick these up and move off here. That's 1 energy to move. And that might be a good place to end your action so that next turn you can use this card, turn that blue and that into a red, use that red to turn these three into a red installation, you know, whatever it is that your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish. All right, so we've gone over direct offense, indirect offense, mobility. What's left? Green. Green is in many ways the most versatile and powerful of all the programs. Several objective cards care about where your greens are and what they're doing. In its simplest form, playing let's move some of these out of the way. Green command allows you to generate a push force, I guess you would call it, or shift force. It lets you form a shift. When you are in a square and you play 2 green, you can take the shift action. When you do that, you simply pick something in your square, any program, not installation or character, and shift it out of your square to an adjacent square of your choosing. Shift, shift. Can work on sparks, can work on programs. Now, that would be awesome enough but next we have these green programs. Any decker can use any green program to shift no matter how far away, whether or not they're in the same network. Every other skill we've talked about so far requires you to be in the same square. You need to be in your square with reds to infect. You need to be in your square with yellows to modify. You need to be in your square with blues to benefit from the path. With green, if I'm generating a force or 2 force for pushing here, I can push this down and this here, even though my green is way out there. In fact, let's imagine that the objective in a prior session was get 135 across my home network like this. I can push that there, and if a spark had already formed here, for example, I can push it around this way. Lots of mobility. You can even push the green itself. So if I'm shifting this, I can go shift, shift. That's totally allowed, 2 shift energy. Now, I grant that this seems like a pretty minor trick. But when you start learning how difficult this game can be to get your people where they need to be, get things lined up where they need to be, you quickly see why it's so good. Imagine a situation like this. First thought would be if I move 1, 2, that's usually a card by itself, then another movement, then an attack, I can kill the spark. That's 3 actions to kill the spark, right? Right. But if the board looks like this, step 1, I push that over there. Step 2, I can honestly just ignore it. Most likely those 2 plus this 4 are 6. If this thing ever tries to attack, it's gonna get wiped out. See? I cleaned up the mess without having to get my hands dirty. Let's say it wasn't like that. Let's say it was like this. Okay, well, why not push that over here, built myself a little road so that I can free move, and then 1 movement gets me to here, or 2 movements gets me all the way around. When you combine 3 shifts and upgrade them with a green command into a green square, aka the green installation, you gain an incredibly powerful ability called ghosting. Now, I'm going to take a quick pause here to point out that there are colored deckers up the yin yang. And apart from having decks with 3 extras of their color, they each have special abilities that make them better at what they do and give them some ability beyond just being an ordinary user of that color. Usually very significant to both their playstyle and how you win and solve problems with them. So, what is ghosting? Anywhere, if I am standing on a ghosting station, I can initiate action from any square in that network. I like to think of it as instead of my turn being from here, I declare, okay, I'm going to take this action from this square and do a thing. So let's say, for argument's sake, what I wanted to do was move 2. Instead of having to say, I'm going to go down here, that's actually a bad example. I'm going to go over here, pick up this yellow, move over here, and then somehow get back here. What I could do is say, I'm going to ghost to this square within my network, move down here 1, move down here 2. I've stayed where I am, and I've already positioned that program without getting my hands dirty. Or let's say this was the actual board, right? Well, it seems kind of superfluous to have a blue that forms a pathway with a blue here. So instead of going 1, 2, and then teleport like I had initially done, I could ghost to here, pick this up, and yeah, ghost to here, pick up, move 1, move 2, or move 1, teleport 2, whatever makes sense. Boom. Power roll around. That's green from pushing, ghosting, red for direct offense stations, yellow, conversion stations, blue. Bada bing. That's all the programs we got. Notably, sparks prevent you from creating programs. Well, how do we do that? Again, paying 3 of a color. So if there's a spark in your space, you must first deal with the spark before you make a program. Pushing it away, going somewhere else, however you prefer. Killing it. Secondly, sparks prevent the formation of installations. If I try to pay that green to upgrade, I can't. I would have to first pay 1 to get that out of the way, and then 1 7th command to go ahead and make a desirable station. So there is a bunch of nuance. This is not a comprehensive video that I've left out for how this all plays out, but I think you have a sufficient understanding of blue, red, yellow, green if you followed along, as well as sparks, to get why and how this is all working. So we're just going to wipe the board clean here real quick. Move on to the second part of this, which was buy cards from the shop. The shop always will have 4 cards at the start of a turn. At the end of a turn, we'll fill in the missing slots. When you have a handful of cards that you're about to play this turn, you can, of course, choose and sequence how you're playing your cards. Well, one thing you'll notice is all the cards here in the shop have a price in the top right corner. By paying that price, you can purchase that card and put it to your hand. So, for example, let's say that I look at that card at the top left and decide that's what I want. Costs 3 green. Well, here's 1 green. Here's 2 more green. That's 3. So I would pay these cards to buy this from the upgrade area. Once I've done that, this card does not go into my discard like in many other deck building games. Instead, it goes into my hand, immediately available for use. But the piper must be paid. You need to get rid of one of the cards used to purchase one of the cards so that your deck always has 15. A basic card in this situation is removed from game, keeping your deck as densely populated with powerful cards as possible. If you used more than 1 card to buy it, like we did here, the second card just goes to your discard. Definitely take advantage of this if you're trying to preserve a good card. For example, look at that other one over there. That triple blue looks beautiful. Now, I'm looking at my hand. I've got wild green. I can turn these 2 wilds into blues, but how am I getting that last one? Well, I could do this. Add this red, 2 reds and a green. Any 3 symbols can be turned into a wild. Wild. That's my blue. Burn the basic card, keep the advanced card. Boom. Different ways to upgrade my hand. Notice that every turn I'm drawing 5 and playing 5 cards, and it's a 15-card deck. Every time I get a card, I lose a card. Every time I get a new card, I lose a card. So there will always be 15 cards. Your cycle for turns will always be play 5, play 5, play 5. Or play 4, hold 1 in reserve, play 6, play 5. Or however you stretch it out. You're allowed to hold 1 reserve. Why does it matter? Because it gives your game a very delicious tempo, clock, whatever you want to call it. The arc number is 3. 3 turns, 1 cycle. That's how long we have to beat the objective. Spaces 1 to 4 on pink must each contain at least 1 blue program or square. Spaces 1 to X on pink, where X is the number of deckers, must contain at least 2 blues or square. So let's set up a board. I've skipped an important step here. Building this grid is not pre-made. Ordinarily, you would first put a piece down. You would choose the order at random. Then you would put a piece down, then put a piece next to it, touching at least two, put another piece touching at least two, put another touching at least two until you built a grid. Very critical when you're playing for realsies that you study these cards closely to decide what server should go where so that which decker you choose will be well placed to solve which objective. No joke, I have beaten whole games by just getting the board built so that the game was solved by the board. And I have almost lost a game by missing an important requirement that became very difficult because I didn't, plan ahead. So we're going to go ahead and set this up real quick. This is Alpha Moby, our enemy AI. He has a special rule for setup: one spark on every space on pink, one spark on each decker's entry space. So let's imagine that we've already decided to build and we are the green decker. Wow, I would never build a board this way. See, because my first objective is do things to pink, do things to blue, right? I'm sorry, do things to pink, do things to pink, get blue programs on it. Why would I set myself up so far away from pink where it's hard to affect it? Let's imagine, for argument's sake, that under the table shuffling, the random order that the servers were coming in was this: green, blue, red, yellow, pink. I'd open with green. Note the numbers all have to face the same direction. Then blue. No special love for blue in this round, right? Dupe, have at least green on each odd number space on X servers. Have at least X blue on this card. Number of things. Have at least one blue on each decker's entry space. Each time an activator starts and ends a move action on their entry space while passing through space 6 of 3 other servers, put a 1 blue on this. So we need to have fixes stay close to each other for at least 3 servers, and I'd like to have pink be close to me. Though something like this maybe could make sense. This, the distance between this 6, this 6, this 6, and this 6 is kind of high, so maybe this isn't the best build. But I have 1, 2, 3 sixes, 2 spaces apart, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. It is conceivable for me to, each time an active vector starts and ends a turn here while passing through this, it's conceivable if you pull a ring like that, maybe, or I could build it better. But let's finish setup rules. Alpha Moby sparks every space on the pink server, so we'll do that. And then he also puts one on the starting square of the active decker, so that's 6, because that's where I would start. And voila! Oh, and of course I get to start with a green. And 5 minus 1 is 4, so I get to start with 4 blue programs. Details of rules. Considering that the goal here is on space 1 through 4 to have a blue, and so 1 to X, so 1 to 2 should have 2 blues, it would not be unreasonable for me to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, so that I've already started the game halfway towards winning it. Of course, it also wouldn't be unreasonable for me to put this pink server not here, but here, that my distance to it is a lot less. Unfortunately, that makes the 6s harder. So you see, it's a puzzle deciding how and when I want to build and what way. So, flow of the game recap. Pick a supermassive computer, pick goals. We've gone over how you buy cards, how you use cards, how you make programs. What might it look like trying to fulfill the objective this game has given me? Well, on an average turn, go ahead and set this back up. Okay, it was, or I got creative. On an average turn, I would go through my deck. From the top, I would draw 5 cards. I would have 5 cards drawn. And I would start thinking what I could do with them. But at the start of my turn, a new spark would enter on my space. That's just how Alpha Moby works. Others worked in different ways. And now I would have to start figuring out how I would work on my objectives and how I would build my board so that I could continue to do so into the future. Let's see, I got that wrong. There we go. How you go about playing and how you go about figuring out the difference between following the rules and playing well. That's the whole game. There are definitely many rules I've left out of this video. I didn't talk about white sparks. I didn't talk about ghost installations. I barely touched on guardian formation or the fact that when a guardian forms, it knocks everything out of its square. There are some details left behind, but my goal wasn't to teach all the rules. My goal was to teach you enough to start playing. The rule book in this game is exceptional. It's short to the point and says everything you need. The rule references that show all of the commands and all the bonus effects and essentially the details of how each command work has everything you need to know on it. The sequence of play shows you what you're supposed to do when. I cannot recommend this game strongly enough. I hope this video has been enough to give you at least a taste of what's coming if you're hoping to play it soon. I do hope to continue to make more content for this because freaking Deckers is the best, man. And yeah, that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.